Hello and welcome to Book of Nehemiah. My name is Liz, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about Nehemiah. Well, who was Nehemiah? I am reading in my chronological Bible. What is this one? The Chronological Study Bible, New King James Version. And I actually bookmarked this when I bought this. It was one of the first things that I think I read. And I think it's been almost 2 years, but the Lord had been pressing on me to teach about Nehemiah. It was so funny is when I found my book to teach from, I had it bookmarked, and it was bookmarked exactly in Nehemiah. So it was just confirmation all the way around. So here we are. Let's learn a little bit about who he was and why he's important, and what we can learn from Nehemiah when it comes to doing business. So one of the things that it talks about in here is a little bit of backstory about Nehemiah. Not going to get into a ton of it, but I just wanted to read this one part. It says, as in the book of Ezra, parts of the book of Nehemiah are told in the hero's own words. From these portions, called Nehemiah's memoirs, one not only learns about history, but much about Nehemiah himself, an impatient, often difficult, but incorruptible man who sought no human reward, but only to serve God. So I'm going to get into it just a little bit. I think it's best to just go ahead and read the word, because we're renewing our mind to the word. When we renew our mind to the word, we are determining truth, real truth, and keeping our mind set on what is true. And then a world full of so much distraction and confusion and chaos, it's really important to get the truth seated deep in your heart and in your mind, so that you have something to anchor to during these rough seas. And if joining a group of people who are going through this together and building businesses together and supporting one another through each other's businesses and coming together as a community to support each other in renewing our minds to the word of the Lord, sounds like something that you've just been dying to find, that you have just been crying out for. I would invite you to jump in Project Goldmine and join us. It's something I never thought I would actually do, but it's funny how he puts an idea in your heart, and years later he stirs it back up again, and then he takes you through a process of refinement so that you'll learn all of these skills that you need to be able to provide a place like this for people who are looking for it, who are looking for more, who are looking for like-minded individuals to connect with and grow with. Look in the link in the description and join me in Project Goldmine. And I can't wait to see you there. All right, so let's get into Nehemiah. I'm just going to read a couple of chapters. Not going to make this super, super long because everybody's got a lot to do. But taking time out of your day and setting it aside, setting it apart for the Lord, so that you can renew your relationship with him, you can strengthen your relationship with him, and you can understand what he sounds like, is so important. It's so critical, especially now more than ever. All right, Nehemiah, chapter 1. And I'm going to mess up words and I'm going to mess up names because I'm not really good at all of that. It may look like I've got it all together, but let's just do it anyway. It's not about being perfect. It's about being willing, right? So here we go. Nehemiah 1:1. The words of Nehemiah, the son of, here it is, Hilkiah. It came to pass in the month of Chislev, in the 20th year, as I was in the Shushan, the citadel, that Hananiah, one of my brethren, came with men from Judea. And I asked them concerning the Jews who had escaped, who had survived captivity, and concerning Jerusalem. And they said to me, the survivors who are left from captivity in the province are there in great distress and reproach. The wall of Jerusalem is also broken down, and its gates are burned with fire. So it was, when I heard these words, that I sat down and wept, and mourned for many days. I was fasting and praying before the God of heaven. And I said, I pray, Lord God of heaven, O great and awesome God, you who kept your covenant and mercy with those who love you and observe your commandments. Please let your ear be attentive and your eyes open, that you may hear the prayer of your servant, which I pray before you now, day and night, for the children of Israel, your servants, and confess the sins of the children of Israel, which we have sinned against you. Both my father's house and I have sinned. We have acted very corruptly against you, and have not kept the commandments, the statutes, nor the ordinances which you commanded your servant Moses. Remember, I pray, the word that you commanded your servant Moses, saying, if you are unfaithful, I will scatter you among the nations. But if you return to me and keep my commandments and do them, though some of you were cast out to the furthest parts of the heavens, yet I will gather them from there and bring them to the place which I have chosen as a dwelling for my name. Now these are your servants and your people, whom you have remembered by your great power and by your strong hand. O Lord, I pray, please let your ear be attentive to the prayer of your servant and to the prayer of your servants who desire to fear your name. And let your servant prosper this day, I pray, and grant him mercy in the sight of this man. For I was the king's cupbearer. Nehemiah 2. And it came to pass in the month of Nisan, in the 20th year of King Xerxes, when wine was before him, that I took the wine and gave it to the king. Now I had never been sad in his presence before. Therefore the king said to me, why is your face sad, since you are not sick? This is nothing but sorrow of heart. So I became dreadfully afraid, and I said to the king, may the king live forever. Why should my face not be sad when the city, the place of my father's tombs, lies waste, and its gates are burned with fire? Then the king said to me, what do you request? So I prayed to the God of heaven, and I said to the king, if it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor in your sight, I ask that you send me to Judah, to the city of my father's tombs, that I may rebuild it. Then the king said to me, the queen also sitting beside him, how long will your journey be, and when will you return? So it pleased the king to send me, and I set him a time. Furthermore, I said to the king, if it pleases the king, let the letters be given to me for the governors of the region beyond the river, that they must permit me to pass through till I come to Judah, and a letter to Asaph, the keeper of the king's forest, that he must give me timber to make beams for the gates of the citadel, which pertains to the temple, for the city wall, and for the house that I will occupy. And the king granted them to me according to the good hand of my God upon me. Then I went to the governors in the region beyond the river, and gave them the king's letters. Now the kings had sent captains of many army and horsemen with me. When Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the Amorite official heard of it, they were deeply disturbed that a man had come to seek the well-being of the children of Israel. So I came to Jerusalem, and there were 3 days. So I came to Jerusalem and was there 3 days. Then I rose in the night, and I and a few men with me. I told no one what my God had put in my heart to do at Jerusalem. Nor was there any animal with me except the one on which I rode. And I went out by night through the valley gate to the serpent well and the refuse gate. And I viewed the walls of Jerusalem, which were broken down, and its gates, which were burned with fire. Then I went on to the fountain gate and to the king's pool, but there was no room for the animal under me to pass. So I went up in the night by the valley and viewed the wall. Then I turned back and entered by the valley gate, and so returned. And the officials did not know where I had gone or what I had done. I had not yet told the Jews, the priests, the nobles, the officials, or the others who did the work. Then I said to them, "You see the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lies waste, and its gates are burned with fire. Come and let us build the wall of Jerusalem, that we may no longer be a reproach." And I told them of the hand of my God, which had been good upon me, and also of the king's words that he had spoken to me. So they said, "Let us rise up and build." Then they set their hands to do this good work. But when Sanballat the Horonite, Tobiah the Amorite official, and Geshem the Arab heard of it, they laughed at us and despised us, and said, "What is this thing that you are doing? Will you rebel against the king?" So I answered them, and I said to them, "The God of heaven himself will prosper us. Therefore, we, his servants, will arise and build, but you have no heritage or right or memorial in Jerusalem." I think I'm going to stop there for now. So what do we see right away? We see right away that there is a desire on the heart of Nehemiah to restore, to restore, to restore, to restore the kingdom, to restore his homeland, to restore his people, to rebuild for the glory and the honor of the Lord, to work for the Lord. And another thing that I really noticed is that when he, being the cupbearer to the king, was asked by the king, "Why are you sad?" It meant a lot to me. It stood out that the king that he worked for knew him so well and thought highly enough of him to ask him why he would be down. He cared. He cared about his cupbearer. Being a cupbearer meant that you were to drink before the king drank from that cup in case it had been poisoned. So there's a lot of trust there because at any moment your life could be gone to protect your king. And that meant that the king knew his cupbearer so well that he was very aware of why his cupbearer would be out of sorts. Because if his cupbearer isn't well, that also means that that's danger for the king. And I think that is a very important thing to remember. Number one, we are commanded to do any job that we do, anything, with great diligence, as if we are doing it for the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords himself, no matter what your station is. And diligence is so important, but also it is a reflection of relationship with your king. And so Nehemiah had a relationship with the king that he worked for in the physical, but also the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Wow. So it is a huge honor to work for the king, to diligently do what you are supposed to do. Trying to say this without falling apart over and over again because I've already done that about 3 times and I cut it out. He's calling together his people. When you have a close relationship with the king, he will notice when you're having an off day. He will notice your need and he will listen to your request. And he will make a way for you. He will make a way for you. And even when he does make a way for you, there will be those who will laugh and scoff. But if you know that you're on a mission from the king, that is what he called you to do and what he handed you permission to accomplish, then don't shrink back and find the people who will say, let us rise up and build. And then they set their hands to this good work. Are you looking for people that want to rise up and build, who want to set their hands to the good work? Because I am. All right, so I'm probably going to have to cut out a bunch of me falling apart to pieces because he's so good and I am so honored. And people are going to laugh and scoff and be a pain in the booty, but Nehemiah is going to show us in the next chapters how to deal with those people, what to do and what not to do. And I'll talk about that with you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to join me in Project Goldmine, and let's meet up and start putting together the vision and shoring up the walls and preparing the way and doing it for the king. See you next time.